I'd like to call the August meeting to order. Could we please, Seth, have a roll call?
Yes, sir. John Black.
Here.
Travis Oakley.
Here.
Raymond Layton.
Here.
Dan Shout.
Here.
Marky Don. Marcus Simmons.
Here.
Pat Doherty. Sonia Luzo.
Sit here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Now, before we start any further, I understand that agenda item 4 has been withdrawn.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they say that. Has everybody here, all the board members, had time to review the minutes both of June 1st and July 6th of this year?
Yes.
Yes.
No. Are there any amendments that wish to be made? Any comments? Having heard one, the chair would like to entertain a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is it seconded?
Second.
We have a motion. It's been seconded. Seth, can we have a roll call, please?
John Black.
Yay.
Travis Oakley.
Yes.
Raymond Layton.
Yes.
Dan Shout.
Yes.
Marcus Simmons.
Yes.
Sonia Luzo.
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next item on the agenda, item 3, is W. Frank Crayton is requesting general subdivision plan approval for Derby Park, Phase 7, a 68-lot planned unit development. This section of the multi-phase development is located on approximately 37.98 acres in the R10 and A5F residential district. The site is located at the western terminus of the Elizabeth Avenue, adjacent to the existing Elizabeth Downs neighborhood. Seth, will we please have staff review?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for introducing the application. So we're all familiar with this site from last month. And here's a parcel at the end of Elizabeth Avenue. And so we were tabled last month from the concerns from citizens from the public that attended the meeting and were concerned about potential removal of existing wooded area and basically the 20-foot buffer surrounding the property. And the engineer representing the client had gone back with the developer, and they have included that 20-foot vegetative buffer now that surrounds the entire property. I've got a close up here so y'all can see. So this is a big change to the previous map. Layout, number of lots, and all those things are the same, but it did include this 20-foot buffer. Go back to these again. So the DRC reviewed the proposed general plan for Derby Park Phase 7 in May of 21, determined the plan meets requirements for approval. So the New Bern P&Z tabled Derby Park Phase 7 plan unit development at the July 6, 2021 regular meeting due to concerns over adjacent property owners in attendance. In response to citizen concerns over potential removal of the wooded area, the applicant has revised the plan to include 20-foot vegetative buffer around the entire perimeter of the project. Staff has reviewed the proposed subdivision plan and found all the technical and legal requirements for general subdivision plan approval have been satisfied, and therefore staff recommends approval. I'll back up to the plan here and take any questions that the board might have.
Question was the retention ponds. But I see here that are they going to be interconnected? They just seem so small. Are they going to be interconnected? Do you know?
They are a part of the stormwater drainage system. I'd like to point out that the applicant has gone above and beyond the actual requirement for the stormwater permit, including those ponds. They're now prepared for the 25-year storm, which is approximately 8 inches in 24 hours. It should be equal to the pre-development runoff. I checked with George again, Public Works, this afternoon just to make sure that I had all those facts straight.
Okay.
So those ponds are actually not required, and they've done that to try to alleviate concerns
Fair
for
enough.
drainage that we have in eastern North Carolina.
Yeah, so if I may, Mr. Chair, I was not in favor of tabling this last month, and the reason I was not in favor of tabling this was that the applicant had prepared the site plan and met all of the requirements of the land use ordinance and state of North Carolina, and recognized that there are potential problems with stormwater downstream and had gone above and beyond. And that's not something we can ask a developer to do, but they've done this of their own volition. And my opinion, there was no good reason for tabling this, and so I would be ready to make a motion whenever we're finished with our discussion.
Are there any more comments, members of this board? Does the applicant wish to address the board? I thought I saw John here.
I'll be glad to answer any questions that may come up or rebuttal any issues that may come up.
Out of curiosity, the last few days we've been getting something of a diluvian flood from Genesis with overrain. Have you had a chance to inspect the property at all during that to see the condition?
I've not been out to Derby Park, but I've been to some others. So I really can't comment on what was going on in Derby Park. I had been out there back in February and early March.
That was
when
a
we had a deluge. And
Of course,
ponds were full and they were emptying, but I didn't see any flooding issues, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's, we're
throughout the whole-
pre-development at this point.
Yeah, that's right. So on this particular track, it wouldn't be anything.
Right.
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on Derby Park development?
Blake Belcher, 4329 Elizabeth Avenue, as I mentioned, the last house on the left on Elizabeth. And spoke to Mr. Thomas very briefly before, and he has responded to some questions and concerns. I was one concerned about the wooded area, so I just want to thank Mr. Thomas and this board for your attention and time to this matter. Thank you.
Well, part of the responsibility of this board is to enhance the harmony of the neighborhood and encourage development that everybody in the community is happy, and we do try to do that. So, are there any other members of the public that wish to speak on the Derby Park development? Having heard none, at this point I would like to entertain a motion to adopt this agenda item as so written. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion, we approve the subdivision general plan.
And is that motion seconded?
I'll second it.
Motion. Can we have a roll call, please, sir?
Sir, Don Black,
A.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Raymond Lake,
Yes.
and Chow,
Yes.
Mark Simmons,
Yes.
Sonny Lisbeth.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, I would just like to add, I do thank you, John, for the work that you did working with the neighborhood and whatnot, making everything go
We'll
smooth.
always try to make it work for everybody.
We appreciate that, thank you.
Y'all, thank you so much. Y'all have a good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay, as I said earlier, the Highlands Village apartment agenda item has been withdrawn. So at this point, we're at the open comments phase. And part of the responsibility of the Planning and Zoning Board is that we can make recommendations for changes in the land use ordinance. All changes made in the land use ordinance have to be approved by the Board of Aldermen. And that is their responsibility. As for the safety issue we're concerned about, Mr. Ruggieri thinks it's best to introduce some of the work that we did on the streets and on the entrances and exits as a piecemeal. And Ms. Bullock Mosley, do you have that paper that Jeff shared with me where he has the language that all residential developments requiring a department view by the city staff and containing 150 more lots?
I do not have that language, Mr. Chair.
Well, that language is before me here, and I'm more than happy to share it with you. And you can get it from Seth or Jeff. But we would like this written as a, this board is going to review and see if we should pass a motion to present this change in the land use ordinance to the Board of Aldermen on their upcoming meeting. Now, I know Mr. Layton has worked extensively on it, and we had some discussions. Sonny knows about this. I don't know if Travis was with us at that time. But the idea is for large developments, 150 or more, to have at least 2 ways of getting in and out. So if one way is blocked, that there is access for other people. I just was telling, I don't know if you know this, but there was a very bad accident this past weekend on Broad Creek Road going to Fairview Harbor. That is out of this jurisdiction, I understand, but it is in a close and adjacent neighborhood. And that road was closed for 2 hours, and I think there's 3,000 to 4,000 people that live up there. It's a very large community with only one road getting in and out. There's a similar situation with Pamlico County. I think 55 is the only paved road going in and out into that county. And it would be wonderful if they could have more opportunity for access. Now, this entrances were further qualified that they should be 1,000 feet apart, so that they're not just a wide road or like a boulevard, and that they all should go onto paved roads. Do you think that this is wise for us to do? At this point, I would ask for a motion that such a resolution be drafted for the change of the land use ordinance to include more than one exit for development sizes of over 150 units.
So, if I may, I think what I would suggest we do is have a motion to have that language come before us as an agenda item at our next meeting. Then we can, because I think it has to be on the notice, the public notice. We can't just send it to the Board of Aldermen without coming first. So I think our motion should be to, I think we're right on. We reviewed this previously. We sent it all to the Board of Aldermen as a big package. We want to break it up in smaller pieces now. So have it come before us next month, and
Would
then we
you
can
agree with that, Ms. Bullock Mosley?
Absolutely.
Okay, so why don't you?
Yeah. So, and I don't have the language that we're talking about, but I think if I understand correctly, I think what I'd like to make a motion is that staff prepare the ordinance revision language for number of exits into and out of, or number of exits from a development that comes before us for review. And
for our September meeting.
For our September meeting, and then we will then at that point discuss it and send it to the Board of Aldermen.
Okay, so you make that motion.
Correct.
Okay, so we have a motion. Is that motion seconded?
I'll second that.
Seconded. Do we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Don Back,
A.
Al Sutton,
Yes.
Frank Layton,
Yes.
and Shout,
Yes.
Marcus Simmons,
Yes.
Sonny Rico.
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
Okay. Now, I have nothing else. Are there any other members that have ideas or want to relate stories to this board?
How are you planning to do this piecemeal? Because I know there's things like the diameter of cul-de-sacs
Yes.
being enlarged so that fire trucks can turn around and things like that. Are we going to address each one each month?
I think that we can entertain that. I think it's important that we get this safety issue taken care of first, especially in light of what happened this past weekend. And if this board thinks it's wiser to include various parts at one time, but as to myself, I'm more than happy to get it adopted piecemeal than not having it not adopted at all.
I agree, but I guess what I'm asking is, some of us have never seen the package that was sent
Fine.
to begin with. And it would be really nice if we had time to sit down and kind of digest it a little bit. So could staff send us what was sent to the Board of Aldermen?
I just got this right before the meeting, and Seth, could you send us the proposal that went to the board, each of the members, in an email PDF file?
That would be great, Seth. Thank you.
I think it was a 11-page proposal.
Yeah, it had edits to
To the language.
a handful of articles, and So some of those articles, maybe just one was a bit more controversial than the others,
Yeah.
and that's why it got kicked by the Board of Aldermen.
And
And so-
some of it was actually definitions of the primary, secondary, tertiary roads, I believe.
Correct. And so,
uh,
as a consequence of that, some of the ordinance edits that we all felt were good, being lumped in like that, they all got booted. And
This
so,
might be a good opportunity for a review committee
Sure.
to determine what sections can be combined and introduce pieces.
Yeah, and I think what we can do is rely on staff to, they have a better understanding of which ones were more controversial, at least as far as the Board of Aldermen were concerned, and maybe, compartmentalize those so we can deal with the less controversial ones.
That makes good sense.
Yeah.
That makes good sense. Any other further discussion? Having heard none, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion seconded. Can we have,
We could just raise our hands for this one, I think.
all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion passes. This meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.